Most people drink their first cup of coffee within 15 minutes of waking up. It feels logical. You're tired, coffee wakes you up, so you drink it as fast as possible. And for a while it seems to work, but then somewhere around noon or 1 in the afternoon, the energy crashes. You feel foggy. You reach for another cup. By 3 o'clock you're thinking about a third. And by the time you actually want to sleep, your brain won't quiet down. If that cycle sounds familiar, the problem isn't the coffee. The problem is the timing. And once you understand what's actually happening in your body during the first 90 minutes after waking up, you'll never think about your morning routine the same way again. This isn't about cutting caffeine or switching to green tea. It's about understanding the biological system that caffeine works on and using that knowledge to make the same cup of coffee work 2 or 3 times better than it does right now. Let's get into it. Your brain has a natural alarm system that it uses to manage energy throughout the day. It's built around a molecule called adenosine. Here's how it works. Every hour that you're awake, your brain produces adenosine. This molecule gradually builds up, binding to receptors in your brain that make you feel increasingly tired. The longer you stay awake, the more adenosine accumulates, and the stronger the pressure to sleep becomes. This is why you feel more tired at 10 at night than you did at 10 in the morning. When you sleep, your brain clears the adenosine. You wake up with relatively clean receptors and a brain that's ready to be alert. Now here's where caffeine enters the picture. Caffeine does not actually give you energy. It doesn't produce energy, it doesn't boost brain activity directly, and it doesn't make you less tired in any fundamental biological sense. What caffeine does is block adenosine receptors. It fits into the receptor site without activating it. Like a key that goes into a lock but doesn't turn. The adenosine can't bind. The tired signal can't get through. Your brain doesn't know it's tired, so it keeps running. That's the mechanism. And it works. But there's a timing problem that almost nobody talks about. For the first 90 minutes after you wake up, your body is in the middle of a specific hormonal process. During this window, your brain is naturally producing cortisol. Not the stress cortisol that everyone warns you about, but the morning cortisol pulse that acts as your body's built-in wake-up signal. This morning cortisol does something important. It's actively clearing adenosine from your receptors. Your body is doing the exact job that caffeine does, but naturally for free as part of the biological process of waking up. When you drink coffee during this window, you're not adding to an already active waking process. You're essentially competing with it. The cortisol is clearing adenosine, the caffeine is blocking receptors. They're working on the same system at the same time. 2 things happen as a result. First, the caffeine is less effective than it would be later. The cortisol is already doing the waking up work, so the caffeine doesn't produce the clean lift that it would if you waited. You get a muted, shorter, lasting effect. Second, and this is the part that explains the afternoon crash, the adenosine that was supposed to be cleared during your natural cortisol window doesn't fully clear. Some of it gets masked by the early caffeine instead of being genuinely processed. A few hours later, when the caffeine starts to wear off, all of that accumulated adenosine floods back to the receptors simultaneously. That's the crash. Not a caffeine crash, exactly. An adenosine rebound, your body presenting you with the bill for the sleep pressure you borrowed against earlier in the morning. This is why the person who drinks coffee the moment they wake up often needs more coffee by 11, another cup by 2, and still feels tired and wired at the same time by evening. The timing created a cycle of borrowing against sleep pressure rather than working with it. Now let's talk about what actually happens when you delay your first cup. When you wake up and let the cortisol do its job, typically for about 90 minutes, though this varies somewhat between individuals, your body naturally clears a significant portion of the adenosine that accumulated overnight. By the time that cortisol pulse begins to fade, you're starting from a genuinely clearer baseline. Then you drink your coffee. Now the caffeine is hitting receptors that have been genuinely cleared rather than masked. There's no cortisol competing with it. The adenosine rebound later is smaller because less adenosine was suppressed rather than processed, and the caffeine produces a longer, cleaner effect because it's not fighting against your own biology. Many people who shift their first coffee from the moment they wake up to 90 minutes later report that the same amount of coffee feels stronger and lasts longer. Not because the coffee changed, because the timing changed. The practical version of this is not complicated. Wake up, drink water, get some light if you can. Even 5 minutes near a window helps the cortisol pulse activate properly. Let yourself be a bit slow for the first hour or so. Then have your coffee. It sounds almost too simple. But the difference in how you feel by the afternoon is often significant enough that people who try it don't go back. There's another piece of the caffeine timing puzzle that affects how well you sleep, and therefore how energetic you actually feel the next day. Caffeine has what's called a half-life of about 5 to 7 hours in most people. That means if you drink a cup of coffee at 2 in the afternoon, half of that caffeine is still in your system at 7 or 8 at night. If you drink it at 4, half of it is there when you're trying to fall asleep at 10. Most people underestimate how long caffeine stays active in their body. They say things like, "Coffee doesn't affect my sleep." And in some cases, that's true. There's genuine genetic variation in how quickly people metabolize caffeine. But in many cases, what's actually happening is that the caffeine is affecting sleep quality without the person fully realizing it. Here's what that looks like. You fall asleep at a normal time. You sleep through the night. You don't think the caffeine caused a problem. But your brain spent more time in lighter sleep stages and less time in the deep, slow-wave sleep where physical recovery and memory consolidation happen. You wake up feeling like you slept, but not quite restored. Over days and weeks, this builds. You feel like you need more coffee to compensate for not feeling fully rested. The more coffee you drink, the later in the day some of it extends. The sleep quality keeps declining. The caffeine need keeps increasing. A simple cutoff time, most research suggests somewhere around 12 to 1 in the afternoon as a reasonable guideline, though people with slower caffeine metabolism may benefit from cutting off even earlier, can interrupt this cycle, not because caffeine is harmful in the evening in some dramatic sense, but because the sleep disruption compounds over time in ways that are easy to miss day to day. One more thing worth understanding about caffeine that changes how most people think about it. Caffeine doesn't just block adenosine. When it blocks adenosine receptors, it allows dopamine and other stimulating neurotransmitters to have a stronger effect. That's part of why caffeine feels good, not just alerting but mood-lifting, motivating, pleasurable. This dopamine interaction is why caffeine is mildly habit-forming, not in a dangerous way for most people, but in a real way. The brain notices the pattern. Caffeine arrives, dopamine flows more freely, things feel better. Over time, the brain starts anticipating this, and the morning craving for coffee is partly a genuine biological expectation that the dopamine effect is coming. This is also why quitting caffeine suddenly produces headaches, low mood, and genuine fatigue. You're not just withdrawing from a stimulant, you're experiencing the adenosine that's been suppressed flooding back all at once, while the dopamine system adjusts to operating without its regular assist. Understanding this doesn't mean caffeine is bad or that you should quit. It means you're in a better position to use it intelligently rather than reactively. The person who drinks coffee because they're already tired and need a rescue is using caffeine differently and getting a different result than the person who drinks coffee after their body has naturally woken up and they want to extend and sharpen a state they're already in. Same molecule, different result, because of timing and intention. Now let's talk practically, because none of this matters if it doesn't translate into something you can actually do. The first shift is the morning window. If you currently drink coffee immediately after waking up, try pushing it back by 45 minutes initially. Not 90, just 45. See how it feels. For most people, the afternoon energy is noticeably different within a few days. If 45 minutes feels manageable, try 90. The 90-minute window is where the research on cortisol timing is clearest, but even half of that is better than 0. During that waiting window, water helps. Overnight you lose fluid through breathing, and if you've been warm, through light sweating. Mild dehydration amplifies fatigue and foggy thinking in ways that are often mistaken for needing caffeine. A glass of water and a few minutes outside or near a window will often make the wait noticeably easier. The second shift is the afternoon cutoff. Pick a time and be consistent about it. For most people, somewhere between noon and 2 works well as a guideline. If you're someone who is genuinely sensitive to caffeine or who struggles with sleep, noon is the safer end of that range. This doesn't mean zero caffeine after noon forever. It means experimenting with it for 2 to 3 weeks and paying attention to whether your sleep feels different and whether your morning energy shifts. The third thing, and this one surprises most people, is the amount. There's a common belief that more caffeine means more effect. But because caffeine works by blocking receptors rather than generating energy, there's a ceiling. Once your available adenosine receptors are blocked, additional caffeine doesn't add more alertness. It just adds more cardiovascular stimulation, faster heart rate, more jitteriness, without the mental clarity benefit. Most of caffeine's cognitive benefits are present at doses of around 100 to 200 milligrams. That's roughly 1 to 2 standard cups of coffee. Drinking 4 or 5 cups doesn't multiply the brain effect. It mostly multiplies the side effects and extends how long the caffeine stays in your system. For many people, using less caffeine more strategically, 1 good cup at the right time, produces better results than multiple cups throughout the day in a reactive attempt to stay awake. Here's the honest summary of all of this. Caffeine is a genuinely useful tool. The research on its effects on alertness, focus, and even certain types of physical performance is solid. This isn't about avoiding it or treating it as something dangerous. It's about the difference between using a tool with some understanding of how it works versus using it blindly out of habit. The person who drinks their first coffee immediately upon waking drinks 3 or 4 cups through the day whenever energy dips and wonders why they still feel tired and can't sleep well at night. That person isn't getting the most out of their caffeine, and they're often creating the conditions that make them need more of it. The same person with the same coffee, same total daily amount but shifted timing, first cup 90 minutes after waking, last cup before noon, will often feel like a different version of themselves within a week, not because of some dramatic intervention, because the biology is working with them instead of around them. Your body isn't broken. It isn't just tired. It has systems designed to manage your energy across the day. Caffeine works best when you understand those systems and time it accordingly. That's it. No complicated protocol, no supplements, no massive lifestyle overhaul, just a different relationship with the timing of something you're probably already doing every morning. Try it for a week. Pay attention to how you feel by 3 in the afternoon and how you sleep at night. Those 2 data points will tell you more than anything I've said here. If this gave you a new way of thinking about something you do every single day, hit the like button. It helps more people find this. And if you want more content like this, just science explained in a way that actually changes how you live,